Hello, my name is Jan Welch, and welcome to episode 18 of the Then and Now Blading podcast featuring Connor O'Brien. Connor is a legendary skater for Manhattan Beach, California. He was known back in the day to have amazing style mixed with technical tricks and an enormous amount of hammers, with some of his sections having pretty much enders for every clip in this section. Connor, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
It's great to see you again. It's been a really long time. I hope everything's been well with you.
Yep.
And I want to say, if you do like this video, make sure to hit the like button, subscribe to this channel if you haven't already, and hit the bell icon to be notified of all new uploads. And I'll have links to my social media and Connor's in the description below, as well as a Patreon link if you want to help out this channel. So Connor, I want to get into your history of skating. First of all, how old were you when you started skating, and what got you into skating to begin with?
It's a good question. And what's funny is I was just watching a video of Chris Edwards and Tom Fry, and I think I started skating when I was like 7, maybe 8. And I remember going down to the Manhattan Beach pier, and they would have like every year, since I was like 7, maybe all the way till when I was like 11 or something, they would set up this huge 12-foot half pipe and then like a street course. And I remember going for the first time, they were passing out Team Paradise magazines, and I saw Tom Fry and Arlo, doing the half pipe. And I was like, I have never seen this before, and I want to do this. Tom Fry was like probably my first favorite skater. And I remember going to Roller Skates of America, which was in Hermosa Beach, and buying a set of Bauer hockey skates, because like aggressive skates didn't really exist then. And I remember I wanted to add grind plates, so they had to like shave my frame down. They're like, okay, once you do this, you can't go back. And I'm like, all right, just do it, because I'm gonna learn how to do this, And I had metal grind plates, shaved the frames down, and the rest is history.
That's really cool. My first skates that I bought my parents bought me were the Bauer hockey skates.
Yeah.
I had some like Zetra blades I got from my neighbor, but Bauer hockey skates were my first. Mainly use them for stair riding. I think my first aggressive setup would have been like a lightning TRS.
That was my next skate, which is a lightning. They were like black and brown or something.
So what year was this that you started about?
1995, maybe?
So
no, that's not right. No, that can't be right. 1993, I think.
Okay. So You've been around since pretty much the early days of skating, just as a little dude.
Just as a little guy.
Yeah, little guy.
Yeah.
How long did it take you to actually start doing grinds and meeting some friends to skate with? Like, did you have a little crew back then?
Yes, I had a little crew. We didn't do like tricks per se, but we do like, stair riding, I think this is even before I started riding anti-rocker, so it was totally flat. And I would just like start out grinding like curbs and stuff. We would just kind of skate on the weekends and after school. And there was like a set of ledges at my elementary school that we would, school would break and we'd go back to our houses, get our skates, and then meet back at this little area and just start grinding. And we destroyed these ledges, like absolutely destroyed them, like cracked, and the paint would fall off, and we loved it. That was kind of the start of it. Eventually, I think I started getting like really serious about skating when I would, especially like during like rainy days, we would go to this place in Costa Mesa called RSA, right? So when it rained, all the skaters from California would go to this place, and it basically was a mini ramp with a spine and then a 9-foot half pipe that was connected to it. And that's where I met a majority of the people that I started skating with, specifically like Ian and Colin McLeod. That was probably at the end of middle school for me, so probably like 8th grade.
I remember that park, that shop. That was a pretty cool place.
I mean, that's still to this day, that's like the state, that's like the best mini ramp I've ever skated, and I was so sad when they tore it down. But yeah, like you would go there and TJ Weber would be there, Randy Spicer would be there, Arlo, like the big names. and you would just watch them just in pure amazement. Yeah.
So you were middle school, so that meant your parents would drive you to RSA?
Oh yeah. Every weekend.
And what now you live in Manhattan Beach is part of Los Angeles County.
Right.
So you're not too far from LA.
Right.
When did you start taking like public transit into Los Angeles or different parts of Orange County to skate with people, or did you get
Oh,
rides with people?
I never took the bus. It was always like, just like, friends who had cars who would, go out of their way to pick me up. Or my parents like dropping me off at skate spots and just kind of hoping for the best that I'd make it home. Um, yeah, so RSA was like 30 minutes away from where I was living in Manhattan Beach. So my parents would, go and drop me off. On the weekends, they would drive all the way to San Clemente and drop me off at Ian McLeod's house. And I would spend the entire weekend just skating.
So you have a long relationship with Ian McLeod. I know he was one of the people you had in the one video
Oh
for
yeah,
profile.
yeah.
And then what about Jeff Stockwell? When did you meet him? Was it around the
I
same time?
Yeah, that was about the same time. So I would go to San Clemente, and that crew was so tight with each other. Jeff would show up at Ian's house. I pretty much met everybody I know through Ian, I think. That's actually where I met Chris Haffey, was at Ian's house. And it was like Ian, Colin, Jeff Stockwell, Carl Sturgis, Mike Leaf would show up a lot. That was kind of like the core group.
So San Clemente, for people who don't know, is in Orange County, but it's the southernmost town that borders San Diego County. So it's almost more like San Diego than the rest of Orange County, I always felt. And they skated a lot with the San Diego guys. They came down quite a bit.
A lot, yeah.
So what about LA scene? Did you spend any time with those skaters? Like I know, back then you had Ernie Ramos and Hong Fong and Gonzo and
Yeah,
lots of other skaters too, but
Gonzo's a big one. Yeah, I would skate with Gonzo a lot. So I kind of was like, I was like a nomad. Like I would go from like click to click. And I was lucky in that regard because I got to skate with like the greatest skaters of all time. Gonzo was one of those guys for sure. When I went to LA, it would be like me and Jeremy Soderberg and Craig Case. And I remember meeting Tat Nasu and Rainier and skating with the boot soldiers, as they like to call themselves. That was pretty cool. But yeah, that was like the main LA group of skaters.
did you ever get to skate with Kin Lee?
I did, yeah, very, very briefly. Like I didn't get to like know him too well, but he was like a legend before I even started skating. I skated with him in Manhattan Beach a few times, and I actually met Adam Clark and Michael Chang through those guys. Yeah, that was pretty fun. Those guys are amazing.
I mean, it's pretty amazing how you were definitely centered around so many great skaters in your location. Now there was also Irvine. You had the FP crew. Did you spend any time skating with those guys?
Not so much the FP crew. They kind of stuck together with Joe Navron and Petty and all those guys. I never really got an opportunity to skate with those dudes out there, but it was mainly the San Clemente crew that I kind of hung out with.
Now, all of you were really good skaters, and you guys threw a lot of hammers, and were some of the best, like in the whole world at the time.
Oh yeah.
And you all lived in the same area.
Yeah.
How competitive were you guys with each other? And were you guys trying to outdo each other? I mean, how did you guys all get so good at the same time?
That's a really good question. Ian was very like methodical in his like approach to skating, I think, and he would make this like crazy laundry list of like all these technical tricks that he wanted to do, and I think the best guys that I got to skate with did the same thing. Like Mike Johnson did that. He like had like a black book of all the tricks that he was going to do and all the spins and switch ups and stuff. And we kind of would go to these spots going, okay, who's done the best trick here? And what can I do to like one up that? And we would constantly do that to each other. And what was interesting is like, I would do a trick and then Ian would one up it. And I'm like, well, I can't use my trick now because Ian just did, full cab to it or 540 to it or whatever. But that was fun in that regard because we would like constantly push each other. And it was definitely like you would go to these spots and it was methodical in that regard. It's like we're going there to do a hammer or to do like the best trick so that nobody else can come back here and try to one up us. That was kind of our approach.
Now, did that approach ever become not fun? Like, did that,
Yeah,
you know,
absolutely.
yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, like when it doesn't go your way, you're just like hurt all the time. And that was kind of like the downside to, the hammer skating or whatever you want to call it. Where you're trying to do a drop kink or a drop rail or a huge gap or whatever, and you're just like walking away with like broken bones or like bruised heels or whatever. I remember going to Lyle Scheivek and Jimmy Ormsby's house and telling him like, hey, I'm gonna try the leap of faith. And I remember I made like a big thing out of it. And I remember telling my dad, I'm like, hey dad, I'm gonna try to 180 the leap of faith. I think I was the last person to try the leap of faith, actually, now that I think about it, before they put in the big elevator shaft. And I was like certain, I'm like, dude, I'm gonna be the first guy to land this. And I was like hyping myself up. I didn't sleep the night before. And when I went there, it was like me, Lyle, Chris Haffey, Mike Leaf, all of San Clemente. And I remember just getting so hyped up. And then finally I'm like, okay, I stood on the middle portion of like where the kink is. And I would like literally stand on top of the rail and jump off. And I was landing it every time. I'm like, dude, I got this. This is no problem. And then I went and I tried it once and I just turned into like a pile of laundry. Just, it's so much impact and you're in the air for so long. You can't even anticipate when the ground is coming. And I remember bruising my heels so bad on that landing and that I could barely walk the next day. I didn't like break anything, but I remember my heels were just so bruised that I went to school the next day just like tiptoeing. Like it was bad. And that's kind of like when skating was more like that's when skating like wasn't fun, and that's when it was like it was and that's, as an adult, that's where I step back and go, okay, like I don't need to do this anymore. I can still like have fun without like killing myself. But yeah.
I've always felt that the level of skating that, I was filming and you guys were doing was amazing to watch, but no one was really going out to just skate and have fun. It had to be filmed. You had to get clips.
Yeah.
Right? It was business blading.
Yeah.
And people watching these videos back then, 95% of them couldn't do any of these tricks. They wasn't attainable.
Sure.
Do you think that had an impact on people quitting skating because they couldn't achieve what all you guys were doing?
You know what? That's a good question. I mean, I still skate. I skate all the time. I'm 37 now. That had an impact on how I skated. I think it was around 2011, and I was like, I think 4x4 was still around. I was still on Remedies, and my other sponsors were Revolution Skate Shop and Ground Control Frames and some other companies. And I remember just thinking like, this is not sustainable. This kind of skating is like not sustainable throughout like the longevity of my life. And I remember going like, okay, I need to take a step back. I need to like reevaluate what I want to do with my life and with skating and stuff. And I remember calling Kato going like, hey, I'm gonna go back to school, so I gotta like jump off the team. And he was like pretty understanding about that. And it took me maybe like a good like 2 years to kind of like reset like how I skated and what I thought about skating. And what was kind of liberating in that regard is once I was like able to like let go of like the sponsors and stuff, I could like start skating anew, like look at skating in a different light. And now it's like all about fun. It's like not about hammers.
After you kind of quit doing your hammer blading years, what type of spots did you focus on that were the most fun for you?
I think I started skating park and probably ledges more just out of just pure convenience. It was more about like the fluidity and just kind of like focusing on how you skate and not necessarily what you skate.
How did you get on Remedies to begin with?
It was the LA IMYTA, and at the time I was skating. I think I was skating those brown Shimas. That I think they were like, I don't remember what the model was, but they were like light brown. And I remember, LA was like where I was from, and I had everybody and their mom staying at my house. I had Ryan Northway and all of Santee, all of San Clemente, like literally staying, like laying on the floor. And I remember just trying to impress anybody that would watch my skating. And I know that's right around the time Kato came out with the new Remedies boot. And I think he was asking like Haffey, he was like, hey, who should we start considering putting on the team? And I think I was like one of Chris's first recommendation. And Kato approached me and went like, hey, do you want to skate for Remedies? And I was like, absolutely. I to be, totally honest, I did not like skating the Remedies originally that Chris was skating, like the black and light gray ones with the light gray toe. They legitimately hurt my feet, and I have no idea how he was able to like jump gaps in those things. But they came out with the new boot, and I just fell in love with them, and I skated those for the next like, man, 10 years. So it was from 2003. That's when Kato put me on Remedies, and I skated that all the way until about 2013.
That's really cool. I think that point you made with Haffey being able to do the tricks he did in those original Remedies.
Yeah.
Just imagine if he had some like modern skates back then.
I mean,
the things he could have
you
achieved.
skated those original Remedies,
Yeah.
right? They were not comfortable.
No.
You know what? I don't know how a lot of those original Remz skaters skated those skates, because I mean, Haffey would do like the biggest. I mean, he jumped leap of faith in those things, and he like almost landed it too. And I don't know how he did that without like completely destroying his feet. I can't imagine. If he had the new Remedy boot and he was doing those tricks back in the day, like I can't even imagine what he could have done.
That would have been amazing. Yeah, incredible.
Yeah.
Who definitely would have fasted with Dallas King.
Oh, for sure. And it's funny, going back to Chris, he's always been in my corner. I have no idea why, but he was when I had my first I don't know what it was called, coming up, or I think it was called Virgins or something like that in Daily Bread. It was like the very back page of like up and coming skaters. I had an opportunity where Dan Busta shot a couple of pictures of me, and I got to be in Daily Bread right when I turned like 18. And Chris wrote up my profile, and he said like the nicest stuff. And I remember just being like completely wowed at that, because he's been like one of my favorite skaters forever.
Yeah, it's really cool. I mean, he was such a, he was also such a nice kid. I spent a lot of time filming with Chris, picking him up and skating with you. I filmed, we filmed a lot together as well.
Yeah.
I want to know if you even know why, but why did you never get a pro skate from Remedies?
I don't know. It's not like I never talked to Kato about it, but I don't know if he thought I was like undeserving of it or whatever. But to be honest, like everyone brings that up, and I never really focused my attention towards that stuff because I was so focused on like the actual like skating. It's a good question. I would have loved to pro skate, but I don't necessarily think that has anything to do with really anything. I remember we did talk about like color schemes and stuff, and I remember originally pitching Kato to make a more like colorful boot, and I even went to such lengths as like to like mock up a Jordan 4 and turn it into a Remedy, and he was like, "Oh no, people don't want color. They want black, white, and gray." I'm like, "All right, sounds good." And then it didn't ever happen. And then by the time that I would even be considered for a pro skate, I kind of like jumped off the team just to kind of reorient myself. Yeah.
I always feel like that you were the one person back then that should have got a pro skate but never did, because you were
nice.
at the same level of everyone else. And if you were around today with the tricks you did back then, you would have all sorts of pro skates.
Yeah.
Well,
that's nice. Thank you.
You're welcome. And I also feel bad because I really try to push to get you on a 4x4 pro team, which never happened.
Yeah.
But you were always one of my choices for that. And
Well, that's awesome.
With 3 people, it's hard to do some things like that. But I always feel like you were, I mean, for technical skating and hammers and everything and style, like you were up there as one of the best in those days.
Well, that's nice. Thank you. I remember going to your house and just like, I remember right when you guys started 4x4, I was just like, okay, this team has like the best skaters. I mean, it's like Pat Lennon, Brian Shima, John Elliott, Rob Thompson. Rob Thompson is like next to Haffey. Like if we can just like put Haffey aside, because obviously he's like at the top of everyone's list, but Rob Thompson is, besides Haffey, the GOAT in my opinion. He was like, he had so much attitude and he would just like do the craziest stunts. He was another guy I really admired.
What skates do you skate now?
I have a bunch of skates, and that's actually one, like kind of a cool thing about not being sponsored, because now I don't have like any I can skate whatever I want. I don't have to, skate just one brand. So I bought the Tim Franken God's boot, which I really like the style of. I think it's like a really nice looking and simplified boot. And I also have a set of red Razor SLs, which I really like, that I just got. And I was begging Jeff Akers. I was like, dude, come out with the red SLs again. They will do really well, and I really want a pair, and I can't find them anywhere. So I have those 2 skates that I'm skating.
And which one's your favorite of the 2?
I'm right now. So when I stopped skating Remedies, I stopped skating that boot in like 2017, and I switched to the SLs. I'm really used to the SLs. I'm like, I hate switching skate brands because I feel like I have to like relearn tricks. Like tops, like I think at one point I tried to skate Shadows, and I could not skate those skates. There was a point right around, it was like maybe before I was on Remedies, where I was like flow for Solomon, and I tried, I don't know why, I could fast slide in Solomon for days, but I could not Royale. And I remember they started flowing me skates, and I was like, okay, I'll try these skates, and I could not Royale in them. And I'm like, I think I did one drop rail in trash actually in Solomon's. I did like a topsoul that you filmed in San Diego. And after I landed that skate, sorry, let me take that back. After I landed that trick on that topsoul, I could not skate those skates anymore. I called, I forgot who the guy was, the representative over at Solomon, but I was like, hey, thanks, but I can't skate these skates anymore. But yeah, I'm really used to the Razor SLs right now. And I have like Intuition liners in them, which I absolutely love. They're like the most comfortable skates.
Are you still riding any rocker?
All day, every day. I'm never switching. I don't care what they say on the message boards. I'm never going flat ever. I do have a set of Seba fitness skates that I use for filming that are flat 80 mil. And those are really nice for any kind of filming other skaters or whatever I do behind the scenes, because I can go super fast in them.
Do you do any urban cruising on them? Do you do any like the LA night skates or anything like that?
No, I don't do that, but I would totally be open to that. I really want to try the what do you call them? That's like 3 wheels across, and they're like 110s. I've never skated.
Oh yeah, the tri skates.
The tri skates, yeah,
Yeah,
those look really fun.
they're fun. They're pretty nice too on really crappy roads. And
yeah,
is there anything you miss about that kind of your golden years of skating?
I miss being able to like heal like immediately. I get like a cut or a bruise now, and it lasts like months. I remember like, falling and getting injured, and then the next weekend I'd be like totally fine, and let's go again, let's try it again. And now I reconsider all that. I recently tore my ACL in my left knee right when the pandemic hit, which is kind of a saving grace, because like we were stuck at home anyways, and all I could do is rehab the knee. But that was like a very quick reminder that I am not the 18-year-old skater I used to be. But I can still skate. So
Is that the worst injury you've had?
that's absolutely, without a doubt, the worst injury I've ever had, mainly because the rehab takes literally forever. And I remember, Grant Hazelton, he just tore his ACL. And I'm like, dude, take the rehab seriously because it's going to be a while. It's like at least 8 months to a full year of recovery to like stretch out the ligament. It takes forever. Beyond that, my worst injury was tearing like all my ligaments in my right ankle. And I wish I had broken my ankle, because a break heals very quickly, like within 3 to 4 months, whereas the ligaments take forever to heal, 6-7 months. Those are huge setbacks in skating.
How did you hurt your ACL last year?
I had a buddy named Aaron Cohen who flies drones and stuff. And I remember going to the Chino Hills skate park, and he wanted to follow me around with this like little tiny like FPV drone where he would like skim on the surface. And I was warming up, and I was doing there's like a very steep ledge right at the front of Chino Hills skate park. And I was doing true spin, negative Machio, and the ground was completely like greased up, like somebody had spilled something slippery on it. And I remember coming off, and my skate like completely slipped out, and I landed right on my knee, and I heard a pop, and I knew immediately what I had done. Yeah. And I was like, oh, I just tore my ACL, and I have to go figure this out right now.
It sounds terrible.
Yeah.
Are you still living in Manhattan Beach?
I'm in Gardena. So I'm just down the road from Manhattan Beach. I have a house here with my wife and son, and we are a straight shot down Manhattan Beach to the grandparents.
Nice, very nice.
Yeah.
And how's your son now?
He is almost 2.5.
Do any of your old skating friends have any kids the same age or close to?
I mean, Chris does. Chris has a son, but he's in Australia, obviously.
Yeah, so that doesn't
do
any good for you guys.
Yeah, not close by.
Now, who do you skate with these days when you go out on a session? Like, I know there's a lot of different skates happening. There's like the Sunday brunch sessions, and
I try to go to
LA
those.
skates.
Yeah, I try to go to the Sunday brunch sessions. I've only been to like a couple of them, but those guys are so much fun to skate with. Casey and John Lake and all those guys. Usually when I go skating, I skate with my buddy Jeremy Clow. Do you know Jeremy?
I don't think so.
Las Vegas skater. And then another guy, Matt Ardeen. Yeah, we usually go out, and it's a bunch of old men just trying to keep up with the youngins.
What was the last clip you got on tape?
The last clip I got on tape, like a good, like, I mean, I film stuff for fun, like all the time, but like the last good clip I got, I did an alley-oop topsoul on a down ledge. I couldn't tell you the school, but John Like or Casey filmed it. It was some school in like, downtown LA that I know you've seen before. Gonzo, I think alley-oop topsouled it. Yeah, probably that.
You made some skate videos, and you filmed a lot back in the day.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what was the first video you made?
The first video I made was Teach Them Well, actually.
Okay.
Yeah.
And Teach Them Well was, what made you decide to make a video, and who was in it all again?
Me, Jeremy Soderberg, Victor Arias, and Ian McLeod. Those are the main profiles. Why did I start making skating videos? We just had this like stockpile of footage, and we couldn't even we had so much footage, we couldn't give it away. So I was like, we should just make a video that just kind of showcases all of our friends. And we'll come out with it. We'll figure out how to do it. I didn't know what I was doing. I was just kind of guessing at this stuff. I was like, okay, I'll find this is when, excuse me, this is when DVDs were, all the rage. I don't even know if people sell DVDs anymore, Blu-rays. It's all online streaming. But it's like you had to go find a DVD duplicator and find a distributor. And I think I reached out to Adam Johnson. I was like, hey, I have a video that you might be interested in. Would you want to distribute it? And he said yes. And I think it was through Straight Jacket. I'm pretty sure it was.
Cool.
But yeah, he kind of helped me in that capacity, which was great.
So the next video you made was the one video?
That was the next video, yeah.
So how do you go from making only one skate video to producing a video for one magazine?
Pure luck. I forgot what the circumstances were, but I remember like chatting with Justin and Wes over at One, and I think I like brought it up like because I had started shooting like commercials as a cinematographer, and this is right around 2009. And when I say shooting commercials, I was shooting like NBA sports stuff and NFL sports stuff for a production company out in Culver City. And I kind of was already filming whenever I wasn't skating. So I just kind of brought it up in passing, and they were like, yeah, let's do a video, because they wanted to get the word out for the magazine. And then I had like this crazy idea to go rent this is right around when the Red One camera came out. It was like a big beefy 20-pound HD camera that could shoot 4K. And I was like, hey, let's get all the best skaters. So I called up all of Santee. I called Frankie Morales and Shima and John Elliott and all these guys, and they all came out to LA, and we had like dollies and I even went to such lengths as to print fake permits, LA film permits. So if the cops came, I could be like, oh, hey, here's a piece of paper from LA film that says we're allowed to, film here, which is terrible idea. And thankfully I didn't actually have to use those fake permits, nor do I think that they would probably work, but I thought they would work. And thankfully we didn't get shut down. But yeah, that was cool to get all those guys in the same location and film some hammers.
That's amazing. You could tell watching that video, the production value is top notch. All the panning, just the quality of the film and the slow motion.
Yeah.
Now, was all of that video filmed with the Red, or did you have some other cameras too?
Just the intro. Yeah. So the intro kind of consists of me going out with all those guys in LA. And I remember at the time I was talking to Doug Urquhart, and he was like, hey, I have a Phantom camera that we can use. And I remember, I don't remember the circumstance, but I remember flying out to Atlanta, Georgia with and staying with him, and we would go and film David Sizemore and Monterey, and at various spots with this camera that was also equally big and hooked up to laptops and stuff, because I think we were filming at like 1,000 frames a second, which for skating is a little too slow, but pretty cool and pretty groundbreaking in that capacity, because I had never seen skating filmed with a Phantom. This is right around the time where Spike Jonze was filming the Lakai video, fully flared. So I kind of wanted to try to do something in the same light as how he was kind of showcasing skateboarding.
Yeah, it's amazing. You did a really good job. Now, who picked the skaters? Was it all you that picked who was going to be in the video, or did Weston and Justin have a kind of vision for the video as well?
They definitely had a vision. A lot of it stemmed from who I had immediate access to. And that happened to be, Ian McLeod. I'm like blanking on some of these skaters. Oh, Mark Voida. He's incredible. Jeff Dahlness. I know they flew out Jeff a couple times. And we tried to, I didn't have that much time with them. So, Mark tried to film some on his own, and so did Jeff. But I tried to, when they were in California, I was like, okay, it's go time. Let's go get some clips,
Now I watched the one video yesterday again, and I noticed that the soundtrack was what Wes Driver listened to every single day when he was working. Did Wes pick the soundtrack?
Wes and Justin had some say in the soundtrack. We argued over the intro song, but they did have a lot to say. You know, they would be like, okay, here are some songs that we like, and I would kind of pick from the list, and then like ask them if I could use like a song here or there, and they were really collaborative in that capacity. I forgot, we did have one argument over the intro song, and it was, I forgot what the band was, but I remember the song that we had in there now, which I think was or is LCD Sound System. It wasn't going to be LCD Sound System. It was going to be something else. And now it's like, I don't know if you can use LCD sound systems and or song. Let me start over. Now I don't think you could use a soundtrack like that and get away with it without paying like, you know, royalties or whatever, especially in the streaming world. Um, that was that's kind of interesting in that capacity.
I think most videos that were made back then you couldn't produce now with the music, not having music rights.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how they get around it now, especially with like streaming services, but I don't know how you like profit from that without like paying these artists royalties. But
Well, I know a lot of people sell videos through like Selfie, so
uh,
it's not, they can't really track
it's
what
not
songs are in it.
monitored. Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
now if you put it on YouTube, you know,
Yeah,
you're not getting anything.
yeah, totally.
So it's definitely more difficult now, I think, to make money off of skate videos.
Oh, for sure.
In between making Teach 'em Well and the one video, that's when you went to school to study film, or what did you study
Yeah.
exactly?
Okay. Yeah. So I went to right after the one video. I was actually in college at the time. I was finishing up my bachelor's in film, which was kind of focused towards editing or cinematography. And at the same time as going to school and making the video, I was also a full-time editor. I was a commercial editor in Culver City for a production company. And I remember finishing the video, finishing school, sitting there at my computer and just going like, I don't want to be stuck inside all day, you know? So I decided to quit my job and I went back to school and got my master's starting in 2011. And I got my master's in cinematography, which is what I do now.
So in the LA area, a lot of skaters have also gotten to working in film and production. Is there any skaters who helped you get started in that industry?
Absolutely. Dave Payne is a big one. Dave Payne, for anybody that doesn't know, was you're responsible for the VG series and showcasing like the greatest skaters in that rollerblading has to offer. Um, Trying to think, Carl Sturgis is another one. I can't tell you how many times I was over at Carl's house in San Clemente where he's, you know, editing film, the skate video film, the Heat video. He taught me a lot. And you know, what's so funny is like, I don't know what it is about skating that helps like transition skaters into, I don't know, you call it, let's just call it art in general, because I run into them all the time. You know, it's like Randy Spicer and Arlo are artists. Chris Smith, who's a really brilliant Steadicam operator. It's from Atlanta. I have no idea why skating kind of opens up like a different avenue, but I run into it like all the time. It's crazy.
Why did you stop making skate videos?
The time, honestly, like there's a part of me. I was talking to my buddy Matt Ardeen, who's a skater and also a really brilliant gaffer in the film industry. I was talking to him about the one video because somebody just posted it about somebody just posted a clip from the video of like Montre doing the 180 with the Phantom camera and Frankie Morales doing a huge 540 into this bank that you can see in the intro. There's a part of me that really wants to do another skate video. It's just like there's so much time that it takes to like make a proper section or an entire video, you know, a feature length video, that it's just it's not conducive to the work that I do because my schedule is just like all over the place. I would like to make another skate section with somebody. I tried to reach out to Demetrius George, who's making like the most brilliant skating comeback of all time. Because he was like going out and doing these crazy hammers, and like not really having like the proper like crew to film. And I was like, hey, stop skating. Just stop for a second. Let's talk about this, and let's like have a plan. I don't know whatever happened with that, but I really would like to do that. It just
Demetrius
takes a
is
lot of time,
insane.
as you know.
Yeah.
He's insane. He's insane.
And Mark
It's like,
Wojda also has been doing some good stuff again.
has he?
Yeah. He's been skating
Yeah.
down there in Connecticut.
Oh yeah. I remember running into him and meeting him at LA IMYTA, and I always kind of compared his skating to Rob Thompson's, and I was just blown away by his level of skating. And I remember just like I like literally going up to him, going like, "Okay, anytime you come to California, you're staying with me, and we're gonna go get some sick tricks on camera." Um, he's a good guy.
It would be really cool to see you do a section with those two guys, because
Yeah,
Demetrius should hit you up. I mean, you've done sections with both of them in the past, so it'd be cool to
and
kind of
Demetrius,
have
I
a,
forgot about Demetrius for the one video. He's incredible.
yeah. So it would be great to see another edit of Demetrius from you. I know he's been
Yeah,
filming a lot with Richard, but you
yeah.
should just film both of them.
I should reach out to Richard. Yeah.
That'd be really cool. What was your goal initially, like going, what did you want to achieve in the film industry going into it? Did you have like a set path you want to take, or did that kind of change the further you went along with schooling?
You know, it's still evolving because like my career path has gone like all over the place, because I went from being a DP to an editor, back to a DP, to now like a camera operator slash Steadicam gimbal operator. Um, and it kind of just boils down to like whatever I feel like doing, I guess. I like camera operating because I get to like collaborate with other people in a different capacity. Um, and I get to incorporate skating into it too, which is kind of fun. Like I'm literally doing a job which I can't tell you what it's for, but I'm working on Thursday and Friday, and I'm going to be operating on skates, which is like a requirement for the job, which is pretty fun. It's like I get to like incorporate both of my passions for my job. Yeah.
I've seen some photos of you with those rigs when you have your skates on, and they're really big and cumbersome.
They're huge.
What is it like to use those, and how hard was it to start operating a rig like that on skates?
It's, I mean, I can operate most things on skates just because I've been doing it for, 30, literally 30 years. But it's kind of like ballet and weightlifting and skating at the same time, because it's like you have so much weight out in front of you, that you just are using like different muscles when you skate. But skating is comes second nature. Um, but yeah, the learning curve wasn't terrible. It's more about like the technology and like wrapping your mind around that. And when you incorporate skating, it's easy.
I'm sure there's a lot of people who do that type of filming, but how popular is it for people to use skates while doing it?
It's not very popular, but usually when I get calls like that, they go, if I can't do the job, they go, "Oh, do you have any recommendations?" And I'm like, "Not really. I have John Lake. I did a pilot out in Virginia for this show on Apple Plus called Swagger. And then we lost some like main talent after we filmed the pilot. They showed it to Apple, and they were like, "Cool, we're gonna, we'll give you like 10 episodes or something like that for season 1, and we're gonna refilm it." So they're like, "Oh, will you come back out to Virginia to film this?" And I'm like, "No, I can't. I'm on something else." And they're like, "Well, we really need an operator who knows how to skate." And I'm like, "Okay, well, you're gonna call John Lake, because he's the only guy besides Vinnie Minton that I know." And
That's really
Vinny's so
cool.
busy all the time,
Right. So you guys are pretty niche in what you're doing.
Yeah, but it's not too common. It's not too common because we have like other methods of moving the camera, either like on moving platforms like carts, electric carts, um, ATVs, or what have you, cars.
I remember a few years ago that you were working on your own type of rig or something for filming. What was that project?
I'm a tinkerer, so I have a company. I have a camera rental company, and I have another company called 1A Tools, and we make like electronics and accessories for cameras and gimbals and stuff like that. Um, and yeah, I mean, I make all sorts of stuff.
How is that going? I mean, do you have a lot of time for that?
I have no time for that. I have no time for anything, Jan. Especially like being a dad. That takes up a majority of my time. So like, um, any free time I get, it's like I'm either on set or I'm working. So when my son comes home from daycare, it's like full dad mode.
And how often do you have to leave town for work?
Um, right now I'm kind of choosing to kind of stay local because it's kind of hard being a dad that travels, especially with my son this young. I'll probably end up traveling a little bit more when he's older, but these are kind of important years, so I kind of want to keep it local. I am going to Las Vegas next week for like a full week, um, but usually I'm kind of local.
Yeah, a week's not too bad.
Yeah,
I could see a couple months or something with being tough.
that's the challenging thing of being married and being a dad, and my family kind of comes first, so I have to keep an open dialogue with my wife and son
Yeah,
to
that's good.
plan for those things. But yeah, I'm trying to keep it local right now. So
Now, what are some of the biggest projects you've worked on
outside of skating,
outside of skating?
I mean, I work on like everything, man. Like I work on music videos. Like I just did one that came out today for Michael Bublé. I've worked with Cardi B. A couple weeks ago, I was with Zach Braff shooting a T-Mobile commercial, and the week before that, I was with Miley Cyrus. And it's just whatever job comes my way with the people that I usually work with, I usually take. But I worked on everything from TV shows to movies to commercials, pretty much everything.
Do you have any favorite projects or ones you're most proud of being part of?
Um, not really. I mean, I work on a bunch of stuff. Usually, I mean, one of my favorite experiences was a movie I did out in Alabama with my buddy Brandon Cox and Spencer Goodall. That was a movie we filmed over the course of 5 weeks, I think, and it was with Aaron Eckhart. That was super fun, really good experience. But yeah, I work on just a bunch of stuff, and I like it all. I love my job.
And what was it like working with Kevin Smith?
Oh yeah, Kevin Smith. He's a hoot, man. He's so fun. Super collaborative guy, really funny, has a good attitude, knows his stuff, and you know, that was a great opportunity. Somebody was like recommended me for a job, and they're like, "Hey, do you want to shoot some like a splinter unit for Jay and Silent Bob?" And I was like, "Yes, I do." And I showed up, and they're like, "Oh yeah, we're gonna shoot Matt Damon today." I'm like, "Matt Damon, that's cool." And he was a great guy, easy to work with. Kevin Smith is a great guy. Would love to work with that guy again.
So if there's some skater out there right now who dreams of doing what you do in LA, what would you recommend for them to pursue, or what should they do to pursue the route that you've taken?
In terms of, that's a good question. Let me think about that. I think it kind of depends, because I think the reason I just got lucky, I just kept skating and just kind of focusing on the skating and not really focusing on really anything else, including like whatever fame, if you can even call it that came from skating. It was never really about that. It was always about how fun skating is, and I think because I kind of focused on the fun aspect, it's kind of allowed me to kind of like let go of other things and just focus on myself, and really just taking any opportunity that comes your way in terms of allowing skating to take you in different avenues, albeit art or a different career path, and just kind of being open minded to that.
And
It's
is there
kind
any
of
sort of degree that would help in that?
not really. I mean, honestly, like I have a master's degree and a bachelor's degree that I use never. I never use them ever. And it's really about, being collaborative and open and easy to work with, and hard worker and showing up when it matters, and taking any opportunity that kind of comes your way. But more importantly, just being open minded to, the avenues that kind of skating will introduce you to.
Cool. Well, hopefully some others can follow your path. And I'm sure you've been an inspiration to some people out there in your film work,
Yeah,
on top of
that
your skating.
that would be cool if somebody took inspiration from this.
Now, what was your regular daily schedule like during your skating career versus your regular daily schedule today?
Waking up at noon. um, like I when you ask me that, I think about, going to San Clemente like late Friday nights, and we were arguably obsessed about skating. We were watching videos nonstop. And when I say videos, I mean every video that ever came out ever. And just being obsessed with tricks and styles, and you know um and just going places, and we would wake up probably like 10, 11 o'clock, very very relaxed skater schedule, and we would just drive to these places and just session every single weekend, all day long. um we would even like wake up at 4 a.m. and skate till the next day, like full 24 hours. I remember going with Haffey, and we went out to like UCI or just random spots where he's like, this the spot doesn't matter. You just have to show up and do a cool trick. And we would show up at like, it would be 2 o'clock in the morning. We'd pull over the car and we'd just see a random drop rail on the side of a road and be like, hey, we're gonna royale off the side of that. And he would do, Chris would do it, and he's like, okay, it's your turn. You have to do it now. I'm like, okay, you know. The schedule was very lax, um now it's like I wake up when my son wakes up, which is like 6:30 a.m., and I have my 2 or 3 cups of coffee, and I'm going to work or set or working here and designing stuff. I'm literally like, I'm not going to show you right now, but I have like, I'm at my dinner table right now, and there's just like electronics like scattered everywhere right now.
The things you design, do you just do that like at home,
I just do it at home. Yeah.
like, and you just buy parts and make things?
I was on a musical actually a couple weeks ago, and during some downtime, I was like, "Hey, I really wish I had this part that doesn't exist." And so, in between, setups or whatever, I would literally bring my laptop to set and 3D design these parts, and I'd go home after set, and I'd print them on my 3D printer. Come back the next day, and the part exists, which is pretty cool. And I think like what I really like about skating and art and filmmaking is like I'm like creating something. I think that's really what it boils down to is, I'm making a video that exists. I'm making a part that exists. I'm doing a skate that exists or I'm doing a skate trick that exists in the realm of our world, and it's like being like an auteur is kind of like what I think is like the common denominator between like all these skaters is like ownership over something.
Right. Yeah, that's totally true. What are your future goals in your career?
I have no idea. I don't really, just trying to find happiness and travel with my wife and kid. And I don't have like dreams of winning an Oscar one day. I think it's kind of a dead end in that capacity. I just want to I want to like the projects I'm working on. I want to continue skating. Um, and it's like I'm 37 now, and I'm already now I feel like this is like the first age where I'm starting to feel a little old. But then I look at like John Julio skating on his Instagram and I'm like, oh, I could do this for another 15 years, like no problem, you know? Um, just trying to take the days as they come and you know, skate when I can.
Now, going back to your skating career, I know we went on some tours with 4x4 and Remz up to Northern California, Sacramento, and things like that. How much traveling were you doing for your sponsors, and what was some of your favorite trips you went on?
One of my favorite trips I went on, I didn't actually even get to skate, and I think Kato was kind of let down a little bit. I was filming for I was filming for the ground control video that never came out, and I was back where there's a kink, and I'm gonna blank on the name. Like my location knowledge of all these skate spots or what the location or what the spots are called is like very limiting now. But it's the kink rail at Dana Point High. You know that little kink rail in the back?
Yeah. Hmm.
I was trying to back royale up it, and I remember getting past the kink, and I like heard a pop in my right knee, and I tore my MCL. And I was just like, I didn't. That was the first knee injury I ever had, and I was like, oh no, I'm supposed to go to Germany on this like big Winterclash trip with Remedies, and I remember I had this like crazy like RoboCop leg that they like a brace that they put my leg into to help my MCL heal. And I was like, Kato, like I can't skate, but I can film. Can I still go to the Winterclash? And he was like, yeah, that's cool. And we showed up and partied our asses off and had a great Winterclash. That was a great experience. We stayed at this hostel where the owner had these gigantic rabbits, like size of horses. These things were huge. And we would wake up every morning super early, and the owner of this hostel, I think that's what it was. I think it was a hostel. He would have this long table just full of food, like sausages and eggs and all sorts of just breakfast stuff. And he would treat us every morning before he went out to the skate park to go and you know skate Winterclash. That was a cool experience, and that was my first time in Germany.
I stayed at a similar place there. Maybe we stayed at the same place. I don't remember.
I mean, the
Um,
guy, you would totally remember it because the rabbits were huge in the backyard. You could ride
mhm.
them; they were so big.
Oh, really?
Oh yeah,
No, I don't remember that.
yeah. They were like the size of like golden retrievers.
Did you ever get to go to the winter clashes in Eindhoven in Holland?
Never. I would love to. That's actually like in terms of like spectacle. I think Winterclash is like one of the greatest contests there is for skating. I mean, I haven't seen that many skaters in one spot in my entire life. There was skaters from all around the world there. And the amount of like camaraderie and like hype that you experience there, just like being in the same room as all these skaters is incredible.
Now they haven't had a winter clash for the past couple years because of COVID,
Yeah,
but will we ever see you attending a winter clash event in the future?
for sure. Absolutely. Yeah. I I tried to show up to Blading Cup this past year. Um and it was just like it was so packed with people, and I remember watching the skaters like skate the course, and I was with my buddy Jeremy, and I'm like, Jeremy, I'm gonna go back to your car and I'm gonna go get my skates, and I want to do one trick, and then I'm gonna sit down, and it'll be right in between the heats. I remember the Matt Mickey like called one of the heats, and he's like, okay, that's it for heat 5 or whatever. And I remember going onto the course really quick and true top pouring up this ledge first try, and like maybe not first try, maybe second try, and like being like, okay, cool, I'm done. I don't need to skate anymore. And I went back into the crowd, took my skates off, and just kind of watched the rest. Um,
That's
that was,
awesome.
I would love to skate a contest again for sure.
As far as contest skating goes, what was some of your favorite contests to skate in, and how many contests did you actually skate back in the day?
Um, One of my favorite contests was LA IMYTA, the first one. That was incredible. Mainly just because of all the people that came out and flew out to LA and actually stayed at my house, and we just had a great skate at the contest, and then we partied really hard afterward. Um, I skated as many contests as I could. I personally did not like contest skating, just because it usually ended up in me getting hurt or trying something I shouldn't have. Um, but I skated like there was I'm blanking on all the names, but like there's Florida comps, there's Bitter Cold Showdown. That was a big one that I really like skating. Um, I usually hate skating in the cold, but usually the parks are pretty good.
Yeah, those were rad. The Florida comp was Powwow.
Powwow, yeah,
Yeah, I went to
yeah.
the last one of those.
Forgot
Well,
about that.
and then they
Yeah.
did a new last one a couple years ago at the start of COVID. I didn't go to that one though.
That was
Now
that's the one with like the huge I forgot what it's called.
it's called Kona Skate Park.
Kona. I've always
Yeah,
wanted to skate Kona. Kona looks
yeah,
bad.
yeah. It's pretty cool. It's a very old skate park. I think it's the oldest in the U.S.
Is it?
Yeah, it's the oldest concrete park. Now, LA and the Orange County scenes have seen a lot of energy in the past few years with Julio and them and stores opening, various skate shops around the LA area. How has the scene changed in your eyes now compared to how it was when you grew up in LA?
Oof. That's a deep question, because when we were skating back in the day, it was kind of like a little bit shunned. It was like an underground sport. It was something that, other extreme sports poked fun of. But now with the way the world is, I guess, I think people are starting to open up their minds to different possibilities and like the extreme sports, um, specifically with inline skating and scooters. Um, absolutely love how Julio, whenever he is part of a company, he's like the master curator of how his brand is seen, how his team looks. I really admire all the work that he does in that capacity, on top of being an amazing skater, of course. Um, but it's completely different, I think, with the introduction of like social media. How we see skating is different as well. Back in the day, it was, if you wanted to see skating, you had to go to either a skate park, a contest, or you had to buy a video. Now it's like you can see skating in all capacity. You can see it on Instagram. You can see it all over the internet. And every single video and every single section probably exists on YouTube. There's contest skating. The avenues that you're able to explore for skating are way more vast than they ever were before.
That's for sure. And it's just a lot more unified too between
Way more
disciplines.
unified.
Even the big wheel blading and rec
Yeah,
skating and
yeah. And I think,
slalom,
yeah,
and they're all more tied in.
for sure. And I think now more than anything, like skating as a standalone sport is more cohesive, in the sense of like people are more like open-minded and just open to big wheels, like the different kinds of skating. There's like park skating and street skating, and I've been following Mike Torres and his like wizard blading, which I love watching. It's something that I don't do, but I think it's like really fun to watch, and I think he and anybody that does wizard skating, really enjoy it. And I think more than anything now, it's about the pure enjoyment of skating.
I agree with you.
It's not about like doing hammers. And trust me, I love watching hammers, but like it's about like the fluidity and the style of, like what Broskow's doing with his skating. I absolutely love that.
I think that's one reason there's a lot more people skating again,
Yeah.
is because it's more fun.
It allows them like
you
an
know,
avenue to explore, as opposed to going and watching somebody, do a quadruple, drop, kink drop rail and going like, oh, I can never do that. So I'm just not
yeah.
going to do it,
I mean, you could look at some of the YouTube channels that are popular. It's the skaters, they're not dropping hammers, they're just having fun, they're older.
Sure.
But everything they're doing is attainable for people.
But
So
it's also
it's popular,
technical. It's also, I think it's technical in that capacity.
Well, with
like,
some of these skaters, I'm talking more like, just your average everyday
sure,
skater,
sure.
that's actually has a following because the skating they do is attainable
Yeah,
versus
and
versus the pros, you know.
for sure. And I think I kind of love how people just they kind of stop giving a shit. You know, like Robbie Pitts, for instance. He skates the way he skates, and he's like, you know what? I'm gonna dress how I want to dress. I want to skate how I want to skate, and love it or hate it, this is me. And I absolutely love that. I think that's cool because I don't think that kind of skating would have been glamorized like when I was skating. It was kind of something that was shunned, I think. And I love how skating has kind of taken a turn um, in that capacity, you know?
So you have a lot of skaters that quit in the mid 2000s coming back into skating now
Yeah,
that didn't see the evolution of the sport and how it's
yeah.
changed, and all they want to see is hammer blading, and they think everything else is lame. How do you react to people like that with that opinion?
I mean, I can kind of sympathize with them a little bit because like a part of me, I do want to see like more hammers, but I obviously I don't want to see people getting hurt. I like it all, man. I love watching like mushroom blading, and I love, technical, tricks or whatever. And I'm thinking of like Sean and Colin Kelso and how they're kind of transforming their skating again. Colin and Sean are like one of the most tech skaters ever. And the way that they're able to kind of turn on the tech and kind of turn their mind off and just skate how they want to skate, regardless if the tricks that they're doing are tricks, or if you want to consider them tricks, or it's more about, the I don't know how you would describe the skating that they're doing now, but it's different. And they just want to be them, and I think that's really cool.
Yeah, I mean, those two guys, they've explored every type of skating within the discipline, and they mastered them all.
Mastered,
You
like
know,
without a doubt. I don't even think. I mean, you would know, like some of the tricks that they're doing. Are they tricks? Do they have names? I have no idea, but it's really cool to watch.
the thing I've been seeing with a lot of skaters out there, or maybe not a lot, but a select few, is they're mixing skating like, mushroom blading, wizard skating, slalom moves, all these different things together and bringing them into aggressive. And I think that's
For
kind
sure.
of, you would have had sort of an impact on those guys a little bit, because a lot of these moves you see are, with slalom, it's all about footwork. So you're doing a lot of
Right.
things, but on, you know, P-rails and whatever. Like,
Yeah.
growing up, what skater had the biggest influence on your style?
I think John Elliott had the biggest influence on me. I never really tried to like emulate any skater's style. It was just like I skated the way I skated. But in terms of, I think a skater is mainly defined off of, and I still think this is true, how they dress, spot and trick selection. And I never really considered John Elliott like a technical skater, but he had such a presence with like the way he did or landed a trick that it was really hard to not take notice of that. Specifically, like when his section came out for Brain Fear Gone, I was blown away. I was like, this is like one of the coolest skaters I've ever watched. And that was, when was that? Like 2002,
Yeah, something
2001
like that.
maybe.
Yeah, 2002, I'd say.
And I remember trying to like get a hold of him and just telling him like he was like my hero for years. He was a big one. Aaron Feinberg was a big one. But yeah, I would say more than anybody, it was John Elliott for sure.
And then John, you got to spend some time with later on when you got older.
Yeah,
You rode for Rat Tail with Vicious and 4x4,
yeah,
and you toured with us and you came down and filmed. What
yeah.
was it like getting to know John and actually hang out? Did you ever get to skate with him at all? Or
Oh
was
yeah,
he
of course,
already done
of
skating?
course. But he was kind of like on his way out. I don't know if he was skating the way he was skating in like Brain Fear Gone days. I remember always just being intimidated by him. Man, even still, if I saw him, I'd probably be intimidated. But it was awesome. It's like getting to skate with the guys that you grew up watching. It's an incredible feeling, It's like all these guys that you looked up to as a kid, You know, getting to meet Arlo, you know, and skate with Arlo Eisenberg. It's like I watched Hoax 2 until the tape reel fell out of the VHS tape, you know. Um, and what's really crazy, this is a side note, what's really crazy is I just did that Miley Cyrus job, and you know who was on the job with me? Brandon Smith and Brian Smith.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they
That's
were the stunt
amazing.
photographers, which is amazing.
That's really
Um,
cool.
yeah. But yeah, getting to skate with your heroes is pretty amazing, and getting to know them later in life is cool.
Now I know John was, watching John, he could just do a simple trick and make it look amazing.
Exactly.
And he was also very, fit as far as skating goes. He grew up doing gymnastics, which really helped his skating, I think. Did you
I
do
did not
anything
know that. I did
as a
not know that.
kid, like to supplement your training or any exercises or sports or anything
Yeah,
else?
I did a lot of baseball growing up. I was never into football or soccer or anything like that. I did a lot of baseball. Um, I played third base and right field. There was a point where I was a catcher, but I kind of gave that up. And then right around high school, I remember I think I got school credit for being sponsored actually by, I want to say, Remedies. Where my senior year, they were like, okay, you don't have to take a sport, like, you know, we know that you're, you know, a sponsored skater now, so we'll give you school credit, which is pretty cool. I don't know if they still do that. I'm sure they do, but that was
That is rad.
that was fun.
I remember people taking skating as their PE class as well in different areas.
Yeah.
Now, what's your craziest Santee story?
You know, Lyle Shyvack was my roommate for like a while, right?
Oh, really? No, I didn't know that.
Yeah, he came and he stayed uh at my when I was living with my mom when I was younger. He came and stayed with us, and he would sleep on the futon next to my bed, and he hated the futon, hated it. Um, you know what? Going back to your question, like who had the biggest influence on you? He was a huge influence on me because I considered him one of the greatest San Diego skaters of all time, and he was doing tricks that weren't even like on the radar for people. Like he was the first person I ever saw do a hurricane fish brain or a hurricane topsoul. And he's the one that actually showed me how to do like spins into grinds and stuff. He was a major influence for me, I think. But yeah, going back, he was my roommate for a year and a half, 2 years or something. And craziest Santee story. He used to live with Jimmy Ormsby, and he told me this story about how Jimmy shaved his entire body, all of his body hair, all of his arm hair, his pubic hair, his face hair, and he collected it in a bag, and he put it in the front of Lyle's hoodie, like where you put your hands, right? And he stuffed it full of his body hair. And Lyle went to school, and he was sitting in class, and he reached into his into his sweatshirt and just started pulling Jimmy's body hair all over his desk. And I remember just thinking about that, just laughing. I have so many Santee stories. Those guys would get on each other's nerves, and they would like do like the worst stuff to each other. I remember somebody was mad at Lyle. It was either like Damien or Jimmy, and they took Lyle's skates and they wrapped it up in a plastic bag and put a knot into it and threw it, and it like landed in the bottom of the pool, and it's like Lyle had to go jump in and get them. There was one where they took a dead bird. They lifted up the insole of Lyle's skate and they put it underneath. And so when Lyle put his foot in the skate, it like smushed the dead bird into a skate, which is like the worst thing in the world. I have an IMYTA story that's really gross. Um, I don't know if you're gonna put this on the podcast because it's disgusting. I remember, so we had this huge party during LA IMYTA where like all these skaters all over the world came and stayed at my house. I probably had like 40 people. If a bomb dropped on my house at that moment, rollerblading would have been over. That's how many people were at my house. So I remember Jimmy Ormsby, Lyle, I don't know if Damien was there, but a bunch of other people, maybe Robbie Whitcomb, they were staying at my house, and they left after it was over. And I get a call from Jimmy. He goes, "Hey, I think I left my car keys in a Doritos bag that I put in the trash can in your room." I was like, why did you put your car keys in a Doritos bag? And he goes, well, you know what? Can you just like go in there and just mail them to me? And I was like, sure. Right. So he had taken a dump in a nacho cheese Doritos bag and sealed it and left it for me like, as a prize. And I was
Those
like,
kids are so
this
bad.
guy is fucked up, man.
One story I remembered after I interviewed Damien was at one of the Razors premieres in there in East County or North County or whatever, San Diego. They were sitting in the bushes with BB guns shooting people when they were getting into the doorway.
Yeah, you can't do that now, Jan. You can't.
No,
Yeah, you go to jail for that shit now.
there's a lot of they should be in jail for like life for the shit that they
Oh God, so bad. I mean, one of the skits that Nick Wood did to me, which is actually kind of funny. So like Nick and I have a shared hatred towards new skates. I hate new skates. Like everyone loves new skates. I hate new skates because you have to break them in, and the groove is never right, and I have to sit there and like grind curves to get the groove like perfect the way I want it. And so we always hated new skates. So Kato was gonna ship me a brand new pair of like these like white remedies, and I remember Nick Wood like shot him up with like shotguns and like knifed it and like burned it and stuff, and he thought it was funny, and he was like thinking like, oh, Connor's not gonna skate these, and I was thinking like, wouldn't it be funny if you actually did mail me that set of burned like messed up skates, and I actually tried to skate them, and we turned it into like something funny where like he actually did mail me the skates, and I went out like on a full weekend and just tried to get as many like tricks as I could comfortably get with the broken skates, and got some pretty good tricks in them, man. Let me tell you. I just like duct taped the skate onto my foot and try to remove as many like bullet shells as I could. But it kind of worked out, and I think people kind of enjoyed that.
Now, when we filmed for United Front 2 Trash,
Uh-huh.
which you had a section in
Uh-huh.
it, and Gonzo had a section
Uh-huh.
in it, which is funny because you both had sections in VG23 as
Uh-huh.
well. Now, going back to that video, we had a lot of sessions where you did some pretty good hammer skating.
Uh-huh.
I
Uh-huh.
remember like where Bernice, you did a lot of cool tricks on that.
Uh-huh.
You did a lot of big gaps. What
Yeah.
were some of your favorite tricks that you've ever done in your career?
The one that comes to mind that I'm like the most proud of is there's this like it's actually in the city that I live in. It's in Gardena. At Gardena High School, there's like this renowned drop rail that I'm sure a million people have done in various videos. I think I saw a clip recently of David Sizemore like front fast sliding it, which is amazing. I went there with Dave Payne because I was like, I want the opening trick of one of the VGs. I think it was like VG 21. And I was telling Dave, I'm like, dude, I'm gonna go to this drop rail and I'm gonna do like one of the biggest hurricane topsouls on this drop rail that has ever been done, ever. And he was like, no, you're not. No, you're not. And I'm like, no, let's go. We're going to do this. And I was with Jaron Grobe. I don't know why I was with Jaron Grobe, but Jaron was like staying with Dave Payne. I think maybe he had a section or something, or he was trying to get clips with Dave. And so I was with Jaron Grobe. And I remember I was like, oh, Jaron Grobe's here. I have to do it now. So I remember going up to the top of this thing and just trying it a couple times and just eating absolute shit. And I was like, okay, I'm going to do it. I do it and I get to the bottom and Dave's like, great, that's it. You did it. Let's go. And I'm like, nope, I'm going to one up myself right now. And I went up to the top and I did a hurricane topsoul to true topsoil immediately after landing it. And I'm like, cool, now we can go. That's the one that I'm like most proud of. Because I don't think I would dare try that now because it like the drop is pretty big. In turn like other tricks, I don't know.
I mean, one trick that comes to mind as being a crazy trick was your 450 back royale in San Diego.
Oh yeah, that one sucked. That was a horrible experience trying to get that. Let me tell you, because I remember trying like going there, going like I had a laundry list of all the tricks I wanted to do for the one video. And we would just go down there and go, okay, I'm going to do this. Then we're going to go to this school. I'm going to do this. And I would cross it out. And that's kind of like the approach that Mike Johnson would take. He would like make this laundry list and he would cross out after he did the trick. Right. And that's how that going back to like the conversation we were having before, that's kind of like how I was approaching like the methodical stunt skating, where I'm like, okay, I'm going to go to this school or this location because it's, this is the best trick that's been done, and I'm going to try to do something better or whatever, right? And I remember Sandy Guito was like at the top of the list, and I was like, I'm going to 450 back rail, and I forgot who was there, but I remember going and gapping to royale, and the rail is so steep, right? It's not so much like it's a big gap to the rail. I mean, it is kind of a big gap to the rail, but like the rail itself is so steep that it just shoots you into the ground, and there's like a big pothole, like a sewer manhole that would shoot you right on top of. And I remember like getting enough balls to just like go, okay, I'm gonna try this. And let me tell you, I ate crap a couple times where I just landed full knees, just like straight into the ground. And I remember just like, I think in the one video trailer, if you can even find it online, I'm like screaming into the manhole. And that's kind of like where skating's not very fun and it's all business blading. But that one was cool, like being able to like land that and like barely hold on to it and then skate away. That was kind of a big deal for me.
And then your fakey backflip at Carlsbad, which I believe I was there for that.
That was first try. That was first try too, which I'm really proud of. And I don't think that gap is there anymore either. I think they tore it down.
Yeah, I don't know. I haven't been there in so long since I've moved, but
yeah, I remember I bought a new camera for that. I bought like a Sony V1X or V1U or something like that. And I remember I handed my camera to Carl Sturgis, who happened to be there. And I'm like, Carl, will you film this? I'm going to do this. And he's like, you're going to do that? And I'm like, yeah, here we go. And I went first tried, backflipped it. I'm like, cool, thank you. Took the camera. I'm like, got the clip, that was cool.
What made you decide you were going to backflip a set of stairs? And have you done any backflips on anything else before?
Oh yeah, for sure. I remember I was at Woodward West, and originally what I really wanted to do, because I've seen like Pat Lennon. I remember for 4x4 video, Pat wanted to go to one of those gaps at San Diego, and he was like, okay, I'm gonna fake you backflip it. I remember watching him. I can barely do a backflip standing on the ground. Like I can do it, but it's like kind of hard for me. And I remember like before Pat did it, he would like look like standing in his shoes over his shoulder, and he would just backflip in place like it was no big deal. And he's like, cool, I'm gonna put my skates on, I'm gonna do this first try. And he did it first try. And I remember thinking like how cool it was that he was able to do that. And the only person other than him was a skater that I can't remember his name, but he was from Brazil and he was friends with Carlos Pianowski. And then of course Vinny Minton doing it in amateur. And I remember going like, I really want to try to learn this trick. But I remember going to Woodward to not learn a fakie backflip, but to try to do gainer backflips and just failing miserably, and going like, okay, if I can't do a gainer backflip, I'll learn how to do a fakie backflip. And I remember trying to do it at a contest where I'd roll up a quarter pipe, and then it would be like a flat bank to a lower bank. And I remember going and then going fakie and then backflipping it and almost landing it like pretty easily. And then it just kind of like gave me the courage and the muscle memory to try it on actual, street skating places. I did it. There's probably a section on YouTube, and I think it was Quinn Feldman maybe put it out. I couldn't tell you what it was called, but I remember I did it over a rail. So it was like there's a rail or a school that Frankie Morales skates at the one intro where he 540. It's like the last trick in the intro where you like 540s. At that school, there's a really cool down rail, and I remember fakie backflipping like over it, which is pretty cool. That I did for fun during a contest.
And there was a contest at the school?
There was a contest at the school. It was some LA contest. Couldn't tell you what it was, but it was like cool. Me. I think it was Mike Dempsey, some other people.
Now, another trick that is pretty cool you did was the 360 top solo on the Manhattan beach ledge.
Yep.
How long were you eyeing that trick for seeing that's in your hometown? And how many tries did that take?
That one didn't take that many tries because by the time I did that, that was like my most comfortable trick. Like I could probably do it on anything. Um, I remember, so I did that, and then some years passed, and I remember we were filming for the one video, and I remember thinking like, okay, I'm gonna take Mark Voida here because I know he's gonna do something that's gonna one up me, and he ended up doing fakie 540 soul on it, which took him a couple tries, but I remember just being blown away. I'm like, no one's gonna top this. And if you've ever gone there, that ledge is gigantic, and there's really no way to save yourself. The ledge comes up to like your shoulder, so you really have to like commit to like getting the speed, doing the spin, and like landing the trick. Otherwise, you're just gonna eat shit.
What is it about inline skating that you love so much that it's kept you in the sport for most of your life?
Oh, that's a good last question, Jan. I like that I'm able to like put on skates and learn something new every single time I put on the skates. A different way of spinning or looking, or just the feel of the wheels underneath your feet. Shane Coburn, back in the Mind Game video, always talked about skating being like an extension of your body, and I love that I can get exercise and also kind of push my body beyond its limits. And honestly, it's just like the feel of skating is unlike any other sport I've experienced, and I'm gonna continue to do it until my legs fall off, I think.
Awesome. I feel the same way. Maybe not at your level, but I'm still skating now, and I plan on skating pretty much as long as I can.
There's a skater that Matt Mickey showcases sometimes on his Instagram feed, and it's like I think his name's Frank.
Yeah, it's
And
Frank.
Frank is like mid 70s,
Mm-hmm.
almost 80, and he's like jumping stairs and stuff, and I'm like, that is me. That is me when I'm his age, because I'm gonna do that stuff. And I'm gonna, keep skating as long as I possibly can.
I remember in the early days of skating in the 90s, when it was starting to become popular, seeing, especially in Europe and on vert ramps, a lot of guys in their 50s, getting into it because it was like
Oh,
they were already
totally.
kind of athletic guys, and it's a
Yeah,
new sport. So you had either really little tiny kids or you had some guys that were way older skating
totally.
back then. So that was always inspirational to me back then already, 30 years ago.
Totally. I get inspiration now from there's a Facebook group that I'm a part of called Rollerblading. And it's like I always see these posts from people around the world where they're like, hey, I'm 46 and I just got my first pair of skates, and here's me at a skate park, and I love that. I think that's so cool, you know?
Do you think 8-year-old Connor O'Brien would have anticipated the 37-year-old Connor O'Brien would still be skating?
I think so, actually. I never really like once I started, I never intended to stop ever. Um and I don't the real question is, do I think 8-year-old Connor O'Brien would think that the 37-year-old Connor is still cool? And that one's a little debatable, but I'm glad I'm still doing it.
No, that's awesome. It's great to
Yeah.
see you still skating and being part of a city that has such a good, vibrant culture.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I'm lucky in that capacity, for sure.
So yeah. Anyway, it was really, really good catching up with you. It's been way too long.
Thank you very much for having me on. I really appreciate it. It's really nice chatting with you since I
Yeah.
haven't seen you in over a decade.
Yeah. You're welcome. I'm glad
Yeah.
you agreed to come on the show. And I'm actually gonna also interview Gonzo pretty soon.
I saw
So
that. I saw that. I'm like, oh, he would be a great guy to interview for sure.
so I always love Gonzo, and doing trash with you two. I thought that was a really fun project.
For sure.
So
Yeah.
anyway, I'll let you get on with your day-to-day activities. I know you're busy. You have some jobs coming up and
Yeah.
probably have to pick up your kid from daycare soon.
Soon. Yeah.
Thank you for joining me. And
All
I
right.
look forward to seeing you soon, hopefully at Blading Cup. Maybe Winterclash.
Maybe Winterclash
Maybe
for
we can
sure.
make a Winterclash date. Next time they
Yeah.
set a date, we can be like, let's go out there for a couple of days and
Yeah, man.
have some European food and go skate park.
Let's do it.
All right.
All right, buddy. I'll talk to you
Bye.
later. Bye.
Thank you for watching episode 18 of the Then and Now Blading podcast with Connor O'Brien. This is going to be one of the last interviews in this format style, which is where I pre-recorded interviews and I edit them together. They take a lot of time, so I'm going to be going to a live interview format moving into the future. The next two interviews, which will be the last of this format, is with Luke Binder and Jeremy Baytall. Jeremy Baytall's interview will be broken into 3 parts, and that'll be episode 20. Start with 21. All the podcast episodes will be live. I'm also doing some different live shows on this channel now as well. I'm doing my Going Live, which is where I do a Q&A. I discuss some new videos and projects that people have been working on. I show you some exclusive footage from my collection. And we discuss things happening in the industry. And it's a pretty fun time, so make sure and subscribe to this channel if you haven't already, and hit the bell icon to be notified of all new uploads so you can be notified anytime I go live. And if you enjoyed this episode with Connor O'Brien, make sure and hit the like button. I have links to my social media in the description below, so you can follow me on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And if you do like this channel and you want to support it, I have a link to my Patreon page, as well as a donation page in the description below as well. And Patreon supporters will receive exclusive content not available on this channel and also be entered into monthly giveaways from things from my merch page or sometimes things from my personal collection. So that's pretty exciting. Thank you so much for watching this episode of the Then Now Blading podcast. I'll see you soon at episode 19 with Luke Binder.